I did it, guys. So I bought a 2024 Foundation Series Tesla Cybertruck Cyber Beast, and I've been living with it for the last 3 months and clocked over 10,000 miles on the truck. I'm gonna walk you through some of my favorite features, financials, how much I purchased this truck for, and a case study that I put together if I were to purchase a Ford F-150 Raptor. The ownership experience hasn't been perfect, to be totally honest, and I'm gonna walk you through some of the problems I had with the truck from day one of taking delivery to the point where we're at now with over 10,000 miles on it. Before I actually spent the money and bought the Cybertruck, I did want to try out some of the other performance leading pickup trucks on the market, which is obviously the F-150 Raptor and the Ram TRX, and I test drove both of them. When I first drove the Ram, I was very underwhelmed going from Tesla's user interface to smaller screen on the Ram, and everything just felt a little more clunky and like outdated almost. After being underwhelmed with the Ram, I went over to the Ford dealership and test drove an F-150 Raptor. As I was taking the test drive, I had the salesman in the passenger seat. He tells me to go turn onto this backcountry road where it's just completely wide open, and he tells me to stop. He's like, you know what, let's do a 0 to 60 run. And he goes, before you punch it here, make sure to put your head back because this thing absolutely rips. And as I put my foot into it, it was the most underwhelming thing knowing what electric acceleration is. So that was my nail in the coffin, knowing that I was not going to be able to switch back over to a gas powertrain. Arguably one of the most ridiculous things about this truck is that it can do 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. The truck has over 850 horsepower and is a tri-motor electric powertrain, and it's disgusting how fast this truck is. Me building homes out on raw, undeveloped, rugged land, I needed a truck with a lot of ground clearance, and that's where the Cybertruck has the most ground clearance out of any pickup truck on the market. This is the truck in its highest setting, which is extract mode, and you can see it has 17 inches of ground clearance. All I have to do is click entry mode, and this is the truck in its lowest suspension mode, where you only have about 7.5, 8 inches of ground clearance, and it's called entry mode so that it's nice and low for you to just be able to hop right in. So you guys know for the last 2 years, I've been whipping around this dinky little 10-foot trailer, pulling it with my Model Y as we built the Pacific Bin and the Cedar Hollow. But we've decided to upgrade a little bit. I officially have a 14K dump trailer. Now, that's just outside of the Cybertruck's 11,000 pound towing capacity, but I just won't be loading this thing completely to the trailer's capacity, which is honestly a little bit safer. Over the last few months, I've been doing some client side projects, hauling this thing around with pallets of concrete, building fences, and the truck in this trailer have been a game changer. It's so nice to actually have a truck and trailer for doing construction. One thing that surprises a lot of people when I get stopped at Home Depot or Lowe's while I'm loading up materials for projects is that the truck has a full-blown bed. Like, I'm able to put full sheets of plywood, drywall, and I just have a ton of space. Plus the tonneau cover, you can actually stand on those. They're so strong, so you don't have to worry about people like taking a knife and cutting through your tonneau and stealing all your tools out. And this whole thing is locked and secured up. You're not getting into it. So with me building homes out in the mountains, typically when we start site development, we don't have power on site, and it takes forever for the utility company to get power to site, so that really can slow down progress. But we have two 110 plugs here. There's 2 more plugs inside the cabin, and we also have a 220. So if I decide to build a container home in the middle of the forest, I can run my welder off of this. People also ask, like, doesn't that drain a ton of the truck's battery running power tools off of it all day? Like, you're never gonna be able to get home at the end of the day. But I've had multiple 14-hour days where I'm running grinders, sawzalls, you name it, off of all the outlets here, and the most I've seen the truck drop in a day was like 4, maybe 5% max. I mean, when you think about it, running just a little hand grinder or a sawzall compared to having to move a 6,500 pound truck, it really is pretty minimal. Another huge selling point to me is the steering system. After driving the Raptor and Ram, which just have conventional mechanical steering where just your front wheels turn left to right, this truck actually has 4-wheel steering where when the front wheels are turned one direction, the back wheels turn the opposite direction, so you're able to have a really tight turning radius, which is great for me building all these homes deep in the forest, and I like to leave as much of the forest as possible, which just means that I can have a tighter build site and be more nimble while while I'm getting out to the building. And then the weirdest thing to get used to with the steering is that it's all fly-by-wire, so there's no mechanical connection from the steering wheel down to the tires. It's all control line driven. But the cool thing with that is that they're able to have variable turning degrees. So going from straight ahead here, all I have to do is turn the wheel that far, and that's full lock. And then all the way around here, that's full lock. So you never have to worry about doing that like quick 3-point turn deal. All you have to do is like lock to lock. And now being really used to the steering system, it feels almost archaic going back to the Model Y. I like start taking a turn and realize like, oh yeah, you gotta crank it over a few times. Which there's tons of other features, like tons of storage, both the front, underneath the bed, behind the seats. Like there's tons of storage in this truck, which I love for putting tools. But my biggest and favorite feature about this truck is the full self-driving package, which, being completely honest, years ago, the full self-driving package was pretty garbage and it doesn't make you feel safe. It was super jerky. I would show friends and they're like, can you just drive? But with this version 13 update, it's incredible. I rarely drive anymore. The only time I drive is when I want to go do a 0 to 60 pull or just have a little fun because the truck's a lot of fun to drive. But it feels like Tesla's finally at that point where they're going to be able to flip that switch to unsupervised, which when that happens, the utility of this truck increases drastically for me. Being able to be on my laptop editing videos, being able to answer client emails, Airbnb messages, like responding to YouTube comments, or even like going somewhere cool overnight where you plug in a destination, crash out in the car and wake up in a sweet spot. That is going to drastically increase the utility of this truck, and no other auto manufacturer is even close to this. Tesla's full self-driving software is probably the main reason why I'll never be able to switch over from Tesla, or if I do, it'll be to another auto manufacturer that's licensing Tesla's software, because once you have FSD, you really can't go back. And Tesla did say they are aiming for 2025 to flip that unsupervised full self-driving switch, which would just be a total game changer for anyone that does have a Tesla, and I cannot wait for that day when I can go take a nap and then wake up in my destination. And for the part that most of you have probably been waiting for, which is the financial breakdown, how much it cost to buy this truck, the case study I did on owning the Cybertruck for 10 years versus the F-150 Raptor for 10 years, and what that overall outcome was that led to me buying this truck. So I paid $135,000 for this Cybertruck. That includes Washington State sales tax, licensing, delivery fees, all that stuff. The all-in cost was $135,000. And that compared to the all-in cost for the F-150 Raptor R was $123,000. So we're already about almost $12,000 cheaper to go with the Raptor right off the bat. The next part is where Tesla really starts to excel. Owning a Model Y and having almost 100,000 miles on it and never having to take it in for service, I knew that Tesla really starts to excel in the cost of ownership category, because I knew it was a lot more to own and operate an ICE car versus an electric powertrain. This case study assumes 30,000 miles of driving per year, which is actually conservative for me. I do anywhere from 30 to 40,000 miles of driving. So in the first year, the total cost of electricity for this truck costs $1,400, and that's at the average cost per kilowatt in Washington State here, and assuming charging all at home. I rarely charge at superchargers where the cost per kilowatt's a lot higher, but at my apartment complex, I do have a charging stall, and it actually only cost me $50 a month, which I'm really getting my bang for the buck out of them, only paying $600 a year. But for this case study, we'll assume the average cost per kilowatt. And the equivalent for the same amount of mileage in the Raptor is just over $8,400. One downside to Teslas is that their insurance premiums are quite a bit higher. So I pay $3,200 a year to insure the Cyber Beast, and that's full coverage. And I checked with my insurance agent at State Farm, and they said it's about $2,500 a year to insure the Raptor R. So the Raptor does win on that front. The only two costs for the Cybertruck are insurance and electricity. My Model Y never having to go in for service, and electric cars not having to need oil changes or fluids changed or anything like that, I didn't assume any repair costs, as my Model Y has 100,000 miles on it and I've never taken it in. It costs $4,700 a year to own and operate and insure the Cybertruck, and the Raptor costs over $11,000, which is more than double the cost to own, operate, and insure the Cybertruck. So extrapolating that out with the purchase price and the cost to own, operate, and insure over 10 years, it's $182,000 for the Cybertruck. compared to the Ford Raptor at $237,000, which is a $54,000 difference. Just because electric powertrains have fewer moving parts and no fluids that need change and no air filters and all that extra stuff and all those crazy markups that the ICE dealerships get you with. In defense of the other pickup truck manufacturers, they are significantly cheaper to fix than Teslas. For example, my Model Y with a tiny little dent in the quarter panel cost $10,000 to fix. So if you can keep the Cybertruck in good condition, be careful, not dent it, not damage it, it will be significantly cheaper to own this vehicle. Plus, even with the Foundation Series being done now, you save an extra $10,000, so that puts you closer to $50,000 difference. That's like a whole other car. After breaking down those finances, it really made me realize I'll probably never switch back to an ICE car just because it is so much cheaper and the driving experience is just significantly better. Before we keep going with this video here, I do have to thank the sponsor of this video, which is AG1. I've been drinking AG1 for the past year and I've made it a part of my morning routine every morning. AG1 is so much more than greens. It's your daily drinkable scoop of vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and whole food source ingredients all in one, validated by research and formulated just for you. AG1 helps your whole body, brain, and gut health to thrive, and AG1 is designed to replace multiple supplements by covering nutritional gaps with a comprehensive blend of nutrients. A few of the main benefits from drinking AG1 is that 1, my gut health has significantly improved, and I'll just leave that one at that, and also that my energy levels seem to be a lot more stable throughout the day, and I don't deal with that caffeine crash that I would deal with when I would drink coffee. AG1 tests for hundreds of impurities, contaminants, and allergens to ensure safety and the absence of harmful substances. If you're interested in joining me and thousands of others drinking AG1 on a daily basis, go to drinkag1.com/DevinLorik or scan the QR code to subscribe and save $20 off your first subscription of AG1. Thanks AG1 for sponsoring this video. Okay, so now for some of the negatives, and the very first one is the light bar. So when I ordered the Foundation Series Cyber Beast, it was supposed to come with a light bar, and it's been 4 months and I still don't have it, which if I'm paying a premium for the Foundation Series, I feel like you should include that for your early adopters. Apparently it's coming in the next couple months, but I've heard nothing and checked in with the service center and they said they don't even have them yet. So kind of annoying, but I can't really do anything about it. So the next problem is with this outlet here. So the outlets and everything work fine. I've had no problem running tools and stuff off of them, but there's a sensor in this door that tells it when it's closed. So even though it's closed right there, and it still says on the screen that the bed outlet door is open, which it's not. I did message the Tesla service center. They said it's a really quick little fix and it's a known issue and that it works totally fine once they do that. So in the next month or two, I'll probably take it in. I told them I didn't want to take it in just for that. I said I'll wait until the light bar's here and we'll just do it all at once. This next problem is pretty frustrating because it was on my delivery day right after spending $135,000. So I was in here driving and I was resting my hand right here and I like nicked my hand on something. It was like pretty sharp right there. I looked and there was no trim panel like this. So my truck was just delivered without this trim panel, which when I let the service center know, they got right on it, were super apologetic, had a new panel sent up from Texas, and they installed it within a few days. And end of the day, it wasn't that big of an issue. It's just a little frustrating seeing $135,000 drop out of your account and your truck is missing a trim panel. Next problem was with the doors and the passenger seat here. So after about 5,000 miles, I noticed that the door was like squeaking. It was making this like creaking sound. I think it's due to Tesla just not putting enough grease in these little jams here. So I took my grease gun, put like 1 pump of grease in each little door latch, and I've had no problems and the doors are perfectly silent. Next up was this passenger seat, which the seat actually creaked a little bit. Only creaked for about a week or two and then it went away and it hasn't come back at all. So I guess it's fixed. So then my last issue with the truck is that with it having these A-pillars like this, it actually makes a pretty big blind spot. And when you're making a left turn, if you have someone like in a crosswalk, this A-pillar does hide them pretty well. And honestly, when you get used to it, you learn to just check by leaning forward a little bit more. But it's just one more thing I had to remind myself, like, hey, double check that, because there's been a few times where people pop out and I'm like, oh shoot, didn't see it there, sorry. Last problem, and this one isn't really Tesla's fault, it's the guy that wrapped my Cybertruck. He didn't wrap the vinyl all the way around the panels like I requested. He told me you're not supposed to do that with Cybertrucks, and I kind of just believed him. But after even just this first 10,000 miles, almost all of the edges, the vinyl wrap is starting to peel up and come off in bits. And even one time I was power washing and a huge chunk of the wrap pulled back right here, and I had to go get a blow dryer and like set it back up. So the guy did a total garbage job, and honestly I think I'm gonna have to get this rewrapped in the springtime and get a PPF wrap and have them wrap the corners. I talked to a few other shops that do it right, and that's how I'm gonna have to do it. Also, just to debunk one myth about this truck too, people are saying that these headlights in the snow cause problems because the snow builds up on the shelf here and covers the light. I've been out skiing like 5 or 6 times this year and been in full-blown blizzards up in the mountain, and I've had no problem with the headlights. So it is pretty annoying seeing all this FUD on TikTok and Instagram of people saying that the Cybertruck is just totally broken. Like, besides those few cosmetic and delivery issues and like getting the light bar and stuff like that, I've had 0 issues with this truck. There's complaints about the motors burning out and stuff like that, and there was a few problems with some of the early VINs, but they've resolved it all now. And I've had 0 mechanical problems with the truck, and it's been an absolute blast to own. To be completely honest with you guys, right before taking delivery, I was pretty nervous to take delivery of this truck because I had seen all sorts of TikToks and reels saying, oh, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, recall this, recall that. And to be honest, almost all of those recalls have been software updates. There was the new 700,000 Tesla recall, and it's literally just an update to reconfigure how the tire monitoring system works. It's just, there's so much FUD around Tesla, and I've owned this thing for 10,000 miles, have had 0 mechanical issues. The steering works great, the drivetrain's incredible. Still got a ways to go for this thing to truly prove itself, but with the Model Y I have, having almost 100,000 miles and 0 mechanical issues, it's been a fantastic vehicle, and I really don't see the reason why this thing wouldn't be the same case. So thank you guys so much for following along. If you want to see me build a barn dominium using a Cybertruck, using all the onboard power, towing the trailer around, hauling stuff to site, be sure to follow along. Appreciate you guys so much for being here, and we're almost to 100,000 subscribers. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.